Hello guys, this is DHS and welcome to my review of the third episode in the series of Doctor Who, which is called Thin Ice. Now, I think this episode is made a definite marker for Series 10, I think. Now, we've had two good episodes, and I think this episode has been the best one that we've had so far. I think it's been the best looking in CGI and everything. It has been the best that we've seen character development and just characters, and I think it's probably been one of the most interesting villains that we've had this series. So anyway, right, let's do this. So I'll talk about the great CGI and costumes this time. So the CGI and costumes for this episode, obviously it's set in like a Victorian time, so it has to be to that date. And when it first started, I was thinking, right, this is going to be quite a slow episode, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It is. But I think that the look of the episode actually made me watch it, I think. So right at the beginning, there's all this place, and all the Thames is frozen over, and there's stores on the Thames, and all these kind of things, and there's a staircase that I think looks great. It's a great piece of architecture of that staircase, and the fact that they've probably built a lot of this stuff is pretty cool. I've actually, when I saw the episode, my dad had a little jump, and I was like, "What's up?" And he just goes, "That's Harewood House." Thanks for your input. So it's because we've been to Harewood House recently, so that's probably why my dad was talking about it. So right, the costumes are great, and they look great, and I like the costume of the villain as well. I think that fits in quite well. I like the just general set design, as I've talked about it, because it's just great pieces of architecture, and they've probably just had to build them due to it. The villain. So the villain in this episode is this sort of sea creature. Now I think that this sea creature is done very cleverly. So it's not exactly shown as a full creature. It shows parts of him. So maybe it's just budget, but I think that's quite a cool effect of showing bits of villains, because if you show bits of them, it makes them more scary, because your imagination, I don't know, shows other things into it. I imagine it with big fins on the sides, and that kind of stuff. So I'm imagining a smaller one that's just grown up and it's just huge. Which is probably likely to be true. But I think that is a very cool villain, even though I like how he's under the sea, and he's kind of the victim of it as well, because he's all harnessed up and chained up, that he can't go anywhere. And there's a small problem with that, is how he was able to chain up this creature, and how he was able to get this creature in the Thames in the first place. I suppose he could have done it at night and then nobody saw him do it. I don't know. It's quite silly, but it is possible. I keep hiccuping. It is possible to do, I suppose. The character development. So the character development in this episode, it has a lot of Bill talking about how she's very, anti people should die. Who isn't? But she's talking about how the Doctor should, not move on as quickly as he does, and he should, help people and save people, which he does do, but she hasn't seen that in this episode, so that's probably why she's, talking about it. But I like that there's this running sort of thing they do when they just talk about how the characters are just conflicting over what they've said to each other. So it's the moving on and that kind of idea that they just repeat over to show that it's actually quite cool. So I thought this episode is quite cool. Obviously, there's a few little minor things like the chains underneath. How does he actually get them down there? Because that doesn't, not really possible. But yeah, I really wasn't expecting this episode to be as good as it was. I found out like 3 minutes before it was like 7 o'clock, and I was just like, okay, Doctor Who starts in like 20 minutes. I'm excited, but that kind of kicked in then. But that doesn't normally happen. So I thought that's quite weird. It hasn't happened this series, so that was bizarre to happen. I think that's a good thing as well. I feel like the Doctor Who is beginning to improve now, and I think we've gone out of the days of Hellbent or Kill the Moon, and we've gone into episodes like this one that is still very talkative, but it's just showing, it's very talkative, but it's making a good episode out of it. It's one of those things like, I don't know, when you watch one of the period drama things that are on the BBC constantly, and very little happens in an episode, but they talk a lot, and then at the end of the episode you go, that was good. That was a really good episode. It's that kind of idea, I think, because when I was watching it, I was just thinking, this is good. This is an actual good episode, and this series has been good. I actually think that Doctor Who may be improving now. I feel like I'm gone by the days of complaining about Stephen Moffat's writing. Obviously, he didn't write it, but it's interesting. I did feel that this episode was a bit The Beast Below, which they've ripped off another episode. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. This has been DHS Studios. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you give it a like, and I will see you next time. Goodbye. Just wanted to point out that my Geek Show 100 video is coming out on Monday or Sunday. I don't know, probably Monday. Anyway, goodbye.